Hello and welcome back to another tech wrap crafting tutorial. My name is Hannah from Crafted in the Valley, and today we're going to be making this super cute balloon heart vinyl decal for this glass mug. So I've chosen out my three colors that I'm going to be using for this project, and I've got two economy vinyls and one of their 001 Glossy series vinyls. So a little bit of a mixture, but they're all equally as good. The 001 Glossy does come with a protective sheet over the vinyl. The Economy series doesn't, which is one of the differences between the two types, but they're both equally really nice to work with. So let's take a look at my design. So I've got this really nice balloon heart design which showcases the three different colors there. This will require a little bit of layering. You could do it all individually if you would like to though. But what I have done has attached all of my images so they are in place for when cutting, but with the differences between the economy range vinyl and then the 001 Glossy vinyl, I still use the same cut setting for both of them. So I'm actually going to move my designs all onto the one cutting sheet here, so I can get them all into my machine at the one time. And I'm using my premium vinyl permanent glossy setting on my Cricut design space with my Cricut Maker 3 today, but I did use less pressure this time because I've just put in a brand new blade into my machine. So I have my vinyls all cut, but you might notice that the pink color is actually quite a bigger piece of vinyl compared to the other two colors. There is a reason for that, and I will show you that a little bit further on down the track when we get to the layering process. But now I'm going to remove my vinyls from my mat, and it is always a good idea, you don't have to do it, but to actually, rather than pull the vinyls up off the mat, is to fold the mat over and then fold the mat back so you're not bending your vinyls. With the Tech Wrap Glossy series and even the Economy, I find if you get the right cut setting, they weed and peel so easily. I can actually hold the vinyl and just peel it straight off like it was a sticker. It's so easy to weed and peel. It's one of the reasons why I love using these vinyls. And even the Economy range, which I'm using right here, it does the same thing. It's so nice, but once you get the right cut setting, you'll know what works for you in your particular machine. Now moving on to my pink piece of vinyl, you'll notice this one is quite a bit bigger than the other ones. That's because I'm going to use a layering process to put my vinyl onto my cup, but you could obviously cut these all out individually and place them on individually as well. But there is a reason why I wanted that extra space underneath the balloon hearts so that I could layer my vinyls and have it all ready to go on one sort of vinyl wrap style, ready to then apply to my glass once it was ready. So I'm actually going to use for this project my matte transfer tape from Tech Wrap. It's more of a mild grip transfer tape, which is really good to use on any of their Glossy or Economy series vinyls because it's not too sticky. So what I did is actually cut my transfer tape to the right size to fit comfortably around my mug. So then that's going to be what I'm going to use to apply my vinyl to the mug. So I want to go in with my white top layer first for my layering. So I'm just going to place it over the top of my balloon hearts, and that's where the clear backings are really handy for something like this, so you can actually line up your vinyls where they need to go. I'm going to peel back just an end of my transfer tape, place it over the top of my layers there so I can collect that white layer, press it down with my scraper, make sure it's on there nice and snug, and then use that peeled back piece of the backing of the transfer tape as a bit of a pull tab to peel that away as I'm slowly flattening down the transfer tape over the top of that first white layer. Once I was happy with how that was all flattened down, I was able just to peel off that white vinyl layer there and then start to peel the backing away from the transfer tape. But because of being a mild tack transfer tape, the matte one, it is not the super stickiest you will find, but I do like that about it. So I did have to go back in and just flatten some of the vinyl back down into place onto the transfer tape, which is not too much of a big deal because it doesn't damage the vinyl or the transfer tape or anything like that. It just takes a little bit of patience sometimes. But once I got my white layer attached to the transfer tape and the backing peeled away, I then moved on to the process of getting that white layer onto my pink layer. And I did this by getting a piece of parchment paper, or baking paper as I like to call it, and using that as a bit of a non-stick barrier between my two layers so that I could line up my white layer and then very slowly peel that baking paper away to flatten down the white layer straight over the top of the pink there. So now that's two layers together ready to go, but I'm going to put that bit of baking paper aside because I'm going to use that again in a moment when I go for my light blue layer. So now I can remove the backing from my pink layer, but I'm just going to use my scraper to flatten down it again from the underside just to make sure it is nice and stuck, and then peel away that backing of the vinyl there, ready for the next part of my layering, which I'm going to be using that piece of baking paper again. So I can see with the top of my design there, that part I just need to make sure it's not going to get stuck to anything that it's not supposed to be. And so I can now use that bottom part of the transfer tape where there's a nice big blank space down the bottom there to then line up with the bottom part of my design, and then I can just lift away that baking paper, get that out of the way. That's the beauty of using baking paper with vinyls and transfer tape, is that it's just so good for layering, or even just, you know, making sure that something doesn't get stuck in a place that it's not supposed to be, because you can just easily peel it away like I'm doing right here, and then flatten down that light blue layer onto my transfer tape and then peel that one away also. And then that is my design done and ready to go onto my glass mug, and I absolutely love it. It's so cute. So again, the ever handy baking paper is what I'm going to be using to apply my vinyl decal wrap to my glass mug. So I'm going to place a piece of baking paper here onto my transfer tape while I get my rubbing alcohol to clean my glass mug. It always pays to clean your surface beforehand. Make sure there's no sort of funny residues or any lint stuck to your surface that's going to stop your vinyl from sticking properly. So I'm just cleaning my mug here, ready to go, and let that dry. Now I can position my vinyl wrap onto my mug where I want it to be positioned. And this is the great thing about the baking paper. I can place it on here, make sure I've got it into position where I want it to go, and I've left a little bit of the transfer tape open there at the end so I can stick that part down, and then use that little pull tab of the baking paper to slowly pull it away as I start to flatten down the vinyl. And you might notice there's an added toy on the desk there. I did not realize that my daughter, she's 1.5, had snuck up and placed a little Play-Doh toy on the table while I was working, but I was so focused on flattening down that vinyl, I did not even realize it was there. But hey, that just means I was concentrating on my project to make sure that there weren't any bubbles forming under the vinyl as I was flattening it down. And I actually went back in with my scraper as well afterwards, just to make sure that the vinyls were nice and flat and smooth on my project. And this is the moment when I realized there was an extra toy on the table. But back to the project. So this is my cup all done and ready to go. Now I can remove my transfer tape, and as I said earlier, the matte transfer tape is a mild tack and it is so smooth and easy to remove. This is why I love using it for any of the Glossy series. It's just so easy to work with, and that's my mug all done and dusted. I am absolutely in love with it. And you know what? This piece of transfer tape still has quite a bit of stick to it as well. I'm probably going to keep this aside and use it for another project once I'm done with this one. So I hope everyone has enjoyed my video. This is a really cute love heart balloon mug using some of the Economy and 001 Glossy series from teckwrapcraft and their matte transfer tape. So I hope you've enjoyed my video and are feeling inspired. We will see you next time for another tutorial.